So, 2021, that was a heck of a thing, wasn't it? Yeah, but it brings us to where we are right now. And where we are right now is my personal best and worst list of 2021. What were the best and worst Transformers I got this year? Of course, this is an extremely personal list. There's a few caveats I gotta give. So without any further ado, how about we jump into the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, man, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe while you're at it, light 'em up, baby. And hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton. It lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all of the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links, all of that in the description down below. Also in the description down below, and if you are in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. You can check us out on Patreon. You can see what we offer to you through Teespring. Or, of course, you can hit the join button right here on YouTube and become a channel member. 2022 has kicked off, man. Looking forward to this being a good year. You never know, man. 10K in 2022. We'll see. But things are going well. But we got to look back at the year that was. And recently, over the last couple of weeks, I did the fan-voted top 10 best Transformers of 2021 and the fan-voted top 10 worst Transformers of 2021. And the voting was fast and furious. This kind of concludes all of that with my personal experiences. Now, your list undoubtedly would look different than mine. My list undoubtedly would look different than yours. Because we have had a lot of wild QC this year. We have had a lot of things that people either love or despise. So it's been a really polarizing year for the fandom. So let's be clear on what it is we're talking about here. Best will mean either they were really, really well done, or they pleasantly surprised me enough that they left a really positive impression. So it's either the best, or it left me with an excellent impression. Worst is either worst, as in something is actually wrong with it, or it disappointed me a lot more than I thought it was going to disappoint me. The truth is, there's a lot that's middle of the road, and this was one of the hardest years I've had yet to amass this. What is counted? Well, because of when things released in my neck of the woods, we will count everything from basically, say, the first wave of Kingdom up to the fourth wave of Kingdom. So we will be excluding the wave with Blaster, Pipes, and Slammer, because I did not have those by the 31st of December of 2021. They can't count for 2021. I didn't have them then, even though some people did. So it'll go from that first wave of Kingdom to that last wave. Also included will be the first wave, say, of Studio Series 86, like up to Wreck-Gar, for example. And last but not least, there's some third-party stuff that came out that I'm not exactly sure exactly when it came out. There's no honorable mentions, but I wanted to kind of clarify all of that. We're gonna start low. We're gonna do the worst first, and then we'll do the best after. So without any further ado, let's kick things off with number 10 of first. Okay, so kicking things off at number 10 on the worst list is actually a character that, it's not even so much that it's bad, it was just absolutely unnecessary. And that would be the Worlds Collide Bumblebee. We had the Netflix Bumblebee. I know a lot of people missed it, but that's a proper Bumblebee with his beetle, I guess, whatever, bug, whatever, alt mode. This was a stylized alt mode with a Bumblebee head that didn't need to exist. It didn't need to be in the package just because it was called Buzzworthy Bumblebee. It was put in there. We gotta have a Bumblebee, I guess. So throw him in there. Like, that's the impression I got. It's not bad. It was just disappointing because it was absolutely unnecessary. That being said, even though this guy I think is one of the worst because it just didn't need to exist, in a way, I'm kind of glad it does, because I was able to get, thanks to our buddy Justin from the 3D Corner, a head that is stylized after Bumper. I destroyed the Bumblebee head to get it off, but now I have a bumper on there, a bumper head on there, and guess what? Now the guy's bumper. I like it. But its existence as Bumblebee just seemed redundant and unnecessary. And for that reason, he took the number 10 slot. Now, number 9 I actually have kind of put together as a part of a hodgepodge here. But number 9 is the fossilizer Ractonite, who I now have parts incorporated as my current stand-in for my custom Onyx Prime. I'm definitely going to have to do something else for Onyx Prime, but this is what I have for Onyx Prime for now, and it's a little bit of all the fossilizers. I like the fossilizers. I've liked the weaponizers. I think that they're fun, even though a lot of people have not liked them. They didn't like the bony look and all that stuff. I understand if aesthetically you didn't like it and whatnot. I personally think that Ractonite was the least functional. I expected him to be more functional. The arms are pretty functional, but there's no hands, which was a bummer to me. And I always felt like the knee was too low and the ankle tilt was too high. Like the whole lower leg is weird. The proportions are weird, and when you do want to connect them, really the whole big hunk and chunk of body here, and I have part of it folded up because Tricranius really uses the same body type. Like, you can't take the body apart more, and I feel like the torso should have come apart more than what it can. I don't know. I feel like while I enjoy the fossilizers, if you notice the shadow there, that's Starscream wife. If you like the fossilizers, then cool, I like them, but I don't think that this was the best representation of what that was able to offer. And for that reason, it takes the number 9 slot. Coming in at number 8, we have this guy, Rat Trap, Core Class Rat Trap. A lot of people said, oh, I love him, he's amazing. I still like the Generations one better, to be honest with you. I know that he's popular, and there are some clever things. I don't like how moving his shoulder really brings down the entire shoulder, though I do find the Netflix one a little bit better in that regard, not a lot. And when I transform him, I find it's, I don't want to say a chore to get them all lined up. It's not that it's a chore, it's just you have to be very specific with it. I feel like he's a bit too small too. While I think maybe the Deluxe is too big, I feel like Core is a bit too small. Somewhere in between those two, I think would have been an ideal Rat Trap. Rat Trap's not bad. He was just disappointing. And since we're counting disappointing in with worst, I gotta say this guy takes the number 8 slot. Number 7, again, isn't that it's worst, isn't that it's bad, it's just it disappointed me, and that would be Black Arachnia. Now, I needed a Black Arachnia for my Predacon shelf. The only one I had was the old, like, animated Black Arachnia, who admittedly is alright, and I like her size and her heft, but man, she struggles to stand up. And while this one stands up alright, there's a couple of things here that were real bummers. One, she's only 38 grams of plastic. That, to me, does not constitute a deluxe at all in any realm of reality. 2, I don't like that the legs are black. I get it, it's true to an actual spider, but they should have been copper, like she's supposed to be, like the animation. 3, she's missing paint that would match the animation. 4, she does not have a waist and her leg only kicks forward that far. In a modern offering, I don't know why molding would be done that only allows the leg to kick forward that far. You can get it up higher if you kind of take it out to the side and twist it up in a weird fashion, but that bugs me. And 5, reason 5, the tab on her chest breaks. So there's a lot here that I thought was great, and I love the way the backpack folds up and stuff, but it was put on a frame that's way too small and the plastic feels flimsy. She looks good on a shelf, but functionally speaking, she leaves an awful lot to be desired, and for that reason she has to take the number 7 slot. Number 6 for me would have to be Jackpot. Now, I like Jackpot. I really do, and I like Action Masters, and I think this is the right mold for it. However, the QC that caused the head to not line up so that the two halves don't line up is unforgivable QC. How that ever got through the factory for production, I don't know. How it got released to the public, I don't know. It is everything that's wrong with the production of the franchise we know and love. Unforgivable QC issue that every single copy I have seen has had. Can it be fixed? Yes. Is it a lot to do? Also yes. Just ask Dragonfly about it. I like this guy from the neck down, but from the neck up, man, that head leaves a lot to be desired because it was produced haphazardly recklessly and carelessly. Fans deserve better, and for that reason, this guy takes the number 6 slot. And as a hush falls over the crowd, we reach the first of 2 most coveted locations, because this is a double-sized countdown. We reach the quarter-way mark. And at the quarter-way mark, we actually have an offering that, again, I like it. A lot of people haven't. And I'm going to explain why it is at the location that it's at. It is Studio Series 86 Blur. Why is he here? 1, because in his vehicle mode, I still think he should have had some sort of little rollers, some sort of little tires, wheels of some sort so he could roll. I don't know why they're not there. And a lot of people say, he's a hover car. I don't even remember him being a hover car on the show. I just remember him being a very low riding vehicle, but I'm pretty sure even in the opening credits, there's a section where you see a tire rolling and it like transitions to blur. Like, I feel like the guy's supposed to have tires. I've always felt like that. So I actually think in alt mode, because of that, while the look of the alt mode is sleek and ideal, and I love this white on the chest inside, and I love how the chest turns around, I feel like the fact that the Titans Return one can actually roll is to its favor. So not having tires, that's one thing. The next is, I have no idea why the forearms were left hollow. There was no real need of it. I get it for the upper arm. But here's the big thing with this guy for me. Actually, I'll mention this too. It didn't happen with mine, but a lot of people say that their pieces back here do not stay up. They just don't. So they do on mine. I don't know. Mileage will vary, I guess. I did have to add a little bit of paint up here too. But to do the back end of this guy, because of the way that we have a peg that slides and another one that tabs in, I found it very clunky and cumbersome to put the back together. So I actually had to shave down some pegs and whatnot on the back in order to get it to really go together. The problem now is that I shaved it down a bit too much and they want to push apart. I feel like the back end, the way that the legs were done, is a bit of a failure. I don't like it, and once it's together I find it almost impossible to get it apart. The front end, great, wonderful transformation, very clever. I like the way that the backpack comes up, I like the way the chest turns around, I like the way the arms are done. But when it comes to, and I like how the feet fold up, because it does give us a nice ankle tilt. But when it comes to actually putting the 2, I'll say lower leg pieces together, not a fan of how that was done on this or the Shattered Glass. For that reason, because there's something about the transformation that I just don't like and had to alter, this guy got to take the number 5 slot. Now number 4 is on my worst list, and it was on the worst list for the fan vote as well. It is this guy, Kingdom Scorponok. It's not even that, again, it's not even that it's bad. Like, it's fine. It's just, he's too small to be a deluxe. Everybody has said that. He has a ton of hollowness, like hollow here on the tail, hollow here on the tail, hollow on the back of the legs, hollow on, is that it? Maybe that's it, but it feels like a lot of hollowness. The red legs, everybody has said that they pop off, they feel like a KO quality leg. I get it. The molding here is gorgeous. The articulation is great. The transformation is, I find it a little cumbersome and finicky, especially with the waist and the way it tabs in and untabs. And there's a lot of hollowness. I said a couple of years ago when the prices took a huge jump, I said, guys, we're accepting it now as a fandom and everybody's defending it. What are you willing to give up next? Is it going to be articulation? Is it going to be paint? Is it going to be hollowness again? I would say that we've reached a point where the answer is pretty clear. Right now it's hollowness that people need to accept. Probably going to be paint next, in looking at some of the legacy stuff. You know, popping off issues, transformation issues, hollowness issues. There's a lot here to like, but there's a lot here to not like. And for that reason, Scorponok has to take the number 4 slot. And now we're at the top 3. And at number 3 is this guy. It is Kingdom Rhinox. Now, I don't detest this, to be honest with you. I like it all right. I like the fact that his hips are stronger than the Thrilling 30 a little bit. I do like the silver and gold here on the chest and on his hand things, even though they don't rotate. This is false. Here's what I don't like about it. No maximal symbols on the head. The green is arguably a lighter green than it should be. The mouth behind him has no teeth. I've heard you can pop off the lower jaw and turn it around and pop it back in, but I don't want to do that. This is just, like, there's no molding, no paint, no nothing. And then the lower legs. Everybody knows that the lower legs are a rough transformation. Now, some people that defend it say, well, once you get the movement down, oh, they're fine. I've transformed the lower legs many times. Not once. I still cannot tell you how to properly move the legs. I do it very delicately. It's a wish and a prayer. And even when I get it, I have yet to even once have the clearance feel like a good clearance. What doesn't help is that the plastic used on the legs is extremely hollow, or the rear legs for the Rhino mode. They're extremely hollow and they feel like the feet. A very cheap, thin KO plastic quality to me. I love the guy from the waist up. I love the arm articulation, although I don't like the green hinge here either. That should have been gray. There's, again, a lot here to like. But there's also a lot to balance that to not like, and for that reason the guy has to take the number 3 slot. Coming in at number 2 is one that made a good run for me for number 1. And I would even say that in terms of being the worst offering, this one is number 1 for the worst offering. Because this worst list is made up of worst and most disappointing, we'll call this one the top for the actual worst side of things, and it's Cheetor. Kingdom Cheetor. My Kingdom one crumbled to pieces. One area was because of some custom work I was trying to do, but the other two, they just crumbled and broke. This is the Netflix one. I have painted this one as well, and he even has the gut gun. But the way that these pieces are behind his shoulders hinders the articulation. The mass is only 61 grams. It's too small for the engineering. And the peg that the head goes down over, I had to cut that off, shave it down. And even when I get the head out, I am petrified of it breaking off. And the little tab on the back of the cheetah head did break off, like it did on pretty much everyone's. And I have another little chip out of the neck. So I don't intend to transform this guy very often because he feels super delicate. If you have a transformer release that feels delicate, in other words, it doesn't function and do the thing it's supposed to do, gotta be the worst, man. When it does do that thing, if it's prone to breakage and crumbling, gotta be the worst. So Cheetor, yeah, overall the worst. And in terms of being the worst / most disappointing, he takes the number 2 slot. And if you've been following the channel all year, then you know what my number 1 is going to be. It will come as absolutely no shock and surprise. This isn't a bad offering. I don't hate it, even though everybody thinks I do for some weird reason. So it's not on this list because it's the worst. It's on this list because, for me, this was the single most disappointing release this year. And it gotta be Studio Series 86 Hot Rod. It disappoints me so many ways. Let's talk about, though, like what I think is good, because I don't get a chance to do that often enough, because the people that love this thing vehemently defend it and say, you just want to hate it. You haven't listened to what I'm saying if that's what you think. What do I like about it? I think the torso turnaround thing is clever. I don't know why they used yellow for the frame of that at all. It should have been orange. I think that the lack of hollowness is great. Just like a Siege Deluxe. It should never be hollow now either. The articulation is okay. It's all right. It's nothing special, but it's okay. Like the arms, yeah, they can go out and they can go, you know, all the way. Well, not quite all the way around because the spoiler gets in the way. If it's out in front, it cannot go out to the side. Impossible to do. If you want to get out to the side, you have to go up like this and then turn the arm. So, like, you could find a workaround, but it's a bit of a cumbersome workaround. The visor inside is, I took it out once, I'll never take it out again. It feels super delicate because of that translucent plastic. But I do like the double knees. I think that that's great. I like the ankle tilt. I think that that's great. I like the hinged fingers. I think that that's great. What I don't like about it, the pipes are known to break off during transformation. Specifically the center one. Hasn't happened to mine, but it's a known issue. None of the joints are the right color at all. The plastic used for the lower leg is paper thin. I can see my finger behind it. I don't know why the legs fold out the way they, well, fold in the way they do, and then you got to try and fold it up. It should have just folded out to the side and then just fold the leg over on itself, a la Huffer, for example. Like, just fold that leg up. Easy. I don't know why they made it unnecessarily complicated. With his, what do you call this thing? Rotating saw, his 2 blasters, his matrix, and his blast effect, all included. The guy's still only 77 grams. Without those things, he's significantly less. Mass-wise, actual product for your money-wise, he's not even a deluxe, let alone a Voyager. Articulation-wise, I don't see him comparable to characters like Cyclonus or Scourge or A-Face or what were some other Voyagers here? Inferno, Dinobot. Wreck-Gar, I don't see the equivalency at all of this guy to those. In any way, shape, or form. The mass, not equivalent. The articulation, not equivalent. The engineering, maybe that's equivalent. It's just, for me, there's not enough here to justify this as a Voyager. The math doesn't support it. The math doesn't work it out. If you have a subjective reason that justified that price point for you, cool. But objectively, it's not there. This is not a Voyager, and it never, ever will be. It's not bad. If this was sold for a deluxe price of $29.99, I'd say, you know what? This is pretty great. This is pretty good for $29.99. Couple of minor gripes, but it's pretty good for the price point. But when you pop that up to the next price point, there's just not enough here. For that reason, he has to take the top spot. He has to be the most disappointing of 2021 for me. So there you have it. We have 10 down to 1 for the worst / most disappointing. If I had to actually differentiate the two, I would say the worst offering of the year is Cheetor. I would say the most disappointing for me was Hot Rod. I don't see the price point for it. But you know what? Let's put all of that pain of the last year aside, because it was actually a really strong year for releases, and we got some fantastic doozies. We had some excellent releases. And everybody, again, is going to have their own list. And like everything, again, just as a reminder here, my list is unique to my experiences and my thoughts on these molds, just as yours would be as well. So what made the best? What was the tops? Well, we're going to kick things off again with number 10 of First. So where do we start? Well, we start, of course, at number 10. And at number 10, we have a latecomer to the year, and that being this guy, Studio Series 86 Wreck-Gar. Love this guy. There's not much hollowness. I mean, a little tiny bit here on the inner thigh and on the back of the wrist, but you know, if you're gonna have hollowness, put it on the back, not on the side or the inside. Put it on the back, man. I do wish that I didn't have the, I don't know what we even call the spike, bend a little bit. Maybe they could have used a harder material, or I don't know how to have done that better, to be honest with you. The only real gripe I have with this guy is my brown waist doesn't like to stay tabbed in perfectly well. I guess it gives me an ab crunch, so that's cool. And it's not super loose. Like when I got him like this, if I shake him, like, he stays together and stuff. It's just, it's a little bit, I wish that there was a little bit of a locking point there. Love the transformation, love the articulation, I love the look. Was really pleasantly surprised with this guy every turn possible. For that reason, he has to take the number 10 spot for best of 2021. Coming in at number 9 is a mold, if not the mold, that I was most skeptical of this year because it just seemed a little bit too out there for me. But I wanted to get it because I could see the emergence of another character inside the mold. So number 9 is Studio Series Thrust, whom I have now repurposed into a version of the Liege Maximo for my original 13. Now I added a couple of pieces up here. I added a couple of horns to the head and done some custom paint, and I added a cape. But whether you have the Starscream version of this mold or the Thrust version of this mold, wow, the articulation is phenomenal. The look is super duper interesting. And the transformation is really clever with a lot of moving parts, but not frustrating. It's actually very satisfying to put him in the weird Tetrajet mode. Big fan of Starscream and Thrust. was super duper surprised with just how good this mold looks, and even more surprised with how functional the articulation and transformation is. When you're surprised pleasantly right across the board, a mold, any mold, would have to take the number 9 slot. Now number 8, I think, is going to surprise some people. This came pretty early in the year, and as a matter of fact, a version of this mold appeared on last year's list for worst of 2020. This year, a version of it is appearing on the list for best of 2020. What is it? It's this guy. It is G2 Sandstorm. Now, to be fair, I have heard of a major QC issue with this guy. Transaren38, shout out to Transaren38, put pictures up on his Instagram that showed the entire lower forearm and fist turned like yellow, as well as the knee hinges. I would assume that that's going to also probably make the plastic brittle. That's usually what happens with some of that stuff. I certainly hope not, though. What a shame. But I feel like that this, and I do have the 3 main cone heads, and I do have the 3 original Seekers with Starscream, Thundercracker, and Skywarp. I feel like this is the single most successful use of the mold. My knees stay tabbed in on this copy. I don't have any QC issues. My Ramjet that I got from Masterfire actually has, like with these 2 little pieces here, they're the same piece, so there's a issue there. Like, it transforms fine, but like you can tell that one of the wings just isn't quite lining up right. No QC issues here. The articulation is the best and smoothest that I've had with this mold. And whereas when I move the bicep on Starscream, the bicep flexes, it doesn't do it here. This guy made the best list because it is the single release of this mold, of this use of the Earthrise Seeker mold, that actually got me to like the Earthrise Seeker mold. I think that that mold doesn't work the best for the main trio. I think it works infinitely better for the head, for the cone heads. And of all the cone heads, I think it works the absolute best for this guy. It really surprised me that I found a version of this mold that I enjoy so very much. And for that reason, this guy has to take the number 8 slot. Coming in at number 7 is this guy, Studio Series 86 Scourge, or you could have used the Sweep. It's interchangeable to me. I think whether you would use Scourge or whether you would use the Sweep as one of the best depends on which coloration you prefer the best. I like both colorations, so I don't care. The mass is here. We're talking 145, 146 grams. Yup, the mass is here for a Voyager. The paint is here. Like, there's a fair amount of paint on this guy, a shocking amount actually, and I would even say that the Sweep has a little bit more because the Sweep also has paint on these wing pieces here. And the transformation, like this guy, his whole body unfurls. You would think he's just a shell former, but there's a lot more going on here than just a shell former. And really, there's no hollowness. Even here on the back of the legs, where there could have been hollowness, they extended the mushroom pegs enough to fill in, completely fill in the back of the leg. This is a great example of what a Voyager should be. The articulation is there, the engineering is there, the paint is there, and the mass is there. I also added a custom version of Fracas, or Fracas if you prefer. Really love this mold, enjoy it in all of its forms, and love the look of it and the versatility of it. For that reason, it has to take the number 7 slot. Coming in at number 6, we have an offering that appeared kind of last year. A version thereof appeared last year. And it is this guy, Inferno. And again, this is a Voyager. Inferno's a Voyager. He has excellent articulation, very little hollowness here. There was a little bit on the inside of the legs. Tons of paint. Clever transformation. The issue with the breaking off pegs on Grapple appeared on last year's list on the best because I love Grapple and I didn't have the pegs break. They took what was a good mold and they improved it. The articulation is unhindered everywhere with this guy. The transformation is clever and it really embodies the look and captures the look of the character. Mine also, thanks to our buddy Joe Ford, has some add-on kit pieces here. I think from Matrix Workshop maybe. Might be a couple of kits here actually. Love Inferno, love Grapple. Simple as that. This is everything good about a Voyager, and for that reason he takes the number 6 slot. And here we are at the other most coveted location, the 3/4 mark. And at the 3/4 mark we have, this is where things get really interesting, I think. We have none other than Kingdom Rodimus Prime. I find it so strange that I don't see the value in the hot rod. I can't get the math to work. I don't like the hot rod. It came on the worst list. Not even worst, most disappointing. I love this guy. I'm not even a fan of the character, but I love this guy for a few reasons. One, is he expensive? Yeah, he is. But when you look at the amount of paint, when you look at the engineering, when you look at the actual mass compared to a leader, the math works out. This is a commander class, but barely with the way it's designed. I would argue that the whole trailer should have been smaller, the mass should have been smaller, it should have been leader, you know? If anything, I feel like Optimus's trailer should have been bigger, and maybe he should have been commander, and the smaller stature of Optimus's trailer should have been translated to this guy. But that's neither here nor there. A lot of versatility with that trailer, so maybe it should be that big. But I love this. I love the transformation. The hinges are the right color. The legs are covered and slathered in paint. The whole spoiler slathered in paint. The face slathered in paint. The little details on his forearms all slathered in paint. The hood and whatnot all slathered in paint. I love it. Now, the face, some people have complained and said, he looks like old grumpy man. You're right, he does. But I like that because I didn't like young leader Rodimus with no experience. This Rodimus feels like to me someone who has experience, he's seen things, he's lived through things. He has earned the right to be the leader of the Autobots. The math works out in terms of the plastic mass and everything else that goes into it, although I would also argue that they cannot cut any more at all, not from paint, not from mass, not from parts, nothing. They can't count anything, or they can't reduce anything anymore and still call it commander class. This is barely commander class compared to the other two. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch that review. But he does fit the math. I adore how well this turned out. It is, for me, even with a couple of imperfections, because I think that up here shouldn't be all blue either. Part of it should be blue. But I think that this is about as definitive of a Rodimus Prime as I'm ever going to want or need. And for that reason, because he surprised me so very much, because I expected to kind of rake this guy over the coals, I cannot deny that he kind of took my heart. I'm a little bit smitten with him, and he takes the number 5 slot. Number 4 is another example of someone I wasn't even going to get. I was going to skip. And then I saw more and more, and I saw it on the shelf, and I was like, oh man, I think I gotta at least try it out. But I didn't know if I was actually going to keep it or anything. I didn't think it was necessarily going to replace the representation of this character that I already had, but it certainly gives a different representation of that character. I'm talking about Kingdom Galvatron. Now, a couple of people have said that theirs don't stay tabbed together or whatever. I don't understand why that would be. That's sad, but it also speaks to the QC variation that we've had all year with the Kingdom line. Mine stays together great. Our buddy Justin from the 3D Corner did turn the shoulders around, but when I done the review for this guy, the shoulders were the wrong way. And guess what? They worked just fine. I had zero issue with it. I did remove the paint smudging. If you didn't like that, I would say wait for the Legacy, because it looks like the Legacy won't have it. I also painted on the black kind of like goatee that he has. I painted the red up here, but that didn't work out so well. And a couple of other details. This guy is solid, hefty chunk. He was sold as a leader. The mass is there. The detailing is there. The engineering is there. The parts count is there. The paint is there. It's all there. Whether you get this one or the reformatted or you get the selects, this mold is hefty. It's a chunk. It's fantastic with great engineering. It's kind of a bonkers transformation, but really, really interesting to see how the entire body undoes and unfurls. Rewarding to get into his cannon mode, rewarding to get back into robot mode, and when I feel rewarded for a transformation going both ways, when I think that the articulation is stupendous, when I think that the tolerances work well, and that the silhouette is imposing, I can't deny that this is one tremendous Galvatron. As for my Mania King, that got inherited by the other collector in our household. I wouldn't say this guy replaced Mania King. I would say it was just a totally different take, but one that surprised me well enough that he stands proudly as the leader of my Season 3 Decepticons, and for that reason he takes the number 4 slot. Number 3 I have picked not only because I love this mold and I think it's super functional with a fun transformation, but because even Starscream Wife commented on this one. And it has to be Kingdom Air Razor. A lot of people have said that they don't like their Air Razor because the wings have stressed or broken or something. I have this version and I have the Skywarp version. My wings are fine. I don't know if I'm lucky or what, but my wings are fine. There's nothing, there's no stress, there's nothing. They're just, the hinges work smooth, nothing holds up. It's wonderful, wonderful. I love the range of motion and articulation here. I mean, it's almost endless, and I feel like I could pull off really any pose that I could possibly want to pull off with her and with Skywarp for that matter. The paint, man, the paint is beautiful. So beautiful that when Starscream Wife saw this, she looked at it and her first impression, her first reaction was, she's beautiful. And you know what? My wife was absolutely right. She functions well, she transforms nice, and she absolutely is beautiful. And for that reason, for me, she takes the number 3 slot for Best of 2021. Now we're at the top 2 of the year, and at number 2, again, is not only here because I like it, but because Starscream Wife had an opinion on it. And it's not often that she has a strong opinion on any of these, but she did in this case. Number 2 is Studio Series 86 Grimlock, baby. So I wasn't going to get this. I was like, I'm fine with the Black Mamba versions. And I had a lend to this one from our good buddy Cyril to do the review. And Starscream Wife held it and she transformed it and she fiddled with it and she said, you need to get this. Whether you get the other Dinobots or not when they release, you need, as a collector of Transformers, you need to get this Grimlock because it's that good. And I thought about it and I said, you know what, I think you're right, I think I do. Now, I did remove the chest plate piece, and mine does have a couple of forearm fillers. And I did get the Fall of Cybertron sword and put with him. But the transformation is tremendous. The look is ideal. The articulation is stupendous. I don't have any issues with this. Like, I have no issues. The only issue that I had was the front teeth missing, and apparently that was done so you could put a blast effect in there. But there's a lot of kits that replace the front teeth. My front teeth are replaced on him. I even this past year reviewed the MP Grimlock, and I infinitely like this more. And this is infinitely more solid than the Masterpiece. When something mainline is better than Masterpiece, when something mainline captures the look of the character better, when something mainline makes your wife say that as a collector of this franchise, you need this, you owe it to yourself to add it to your collection, how can he not appear near the top of the best list? The guy was bound to be here, and he took the number 2 slot. And certainly here at number 1 for Best of the Year, it got to be anticlimactic. You have to know what the answer is going to be at this point. Number 1 for the Best of 2021, one of the best offerings, I would say, ever for Transformers, has to be Kingdom Cyclonus. I mean, we don't have really any hollowness here, a little bit on the back of the leg, but generally speaking, there isn't any. Some people have said that the face, I don't even know if it's so much that it looks long, but some people have said the face looks slightly off. It's because it homages a particular episode, and I can't remember which one it is now. Web World, maybe? I don't remember. But the transformation. Okay, let's talk about the look. I wasn't sure how I felt about it. The face is a little off to me, but once I saw it, I was like, oh, man. Just the silhouette of the head and like the horn pieces, I was like, it's Cyclonus. It is quintessentially Cyclonus, man. And then I got it, and I got it out of package, and I started moving the joints and stuff, and I was like, all of these hinge and swivel joints are toleranced perfectly. Nothing is loose. Not one thing is loose here. It's all good and solid, but not too solid. Like, it's not so solid that you feel uncomfortable moving things. So the look is there. The articulation and solidity is there. I was super concerned about the knees being friction, but you can have him, you know, have a lower leg or a taller leg, and you know what? They're tolerant so well, I don't even worry about the friction going in them. Like, that knee is not loose. That knee is not loose, right? If I shake it, I mean, I guess it will, but I mean, if you're not even on this side, well, if I shake it a bit, I guess, but like for what we're gonna need, the guy is solid. Then I got to the transformation. And I've never had a sensation with a transformation like I had with this guy. Usually when I see things really coming apart and unfurling, I get a bit anxious and I'm like, oh, this is over-engineered, this is fiddly, parts are falling everywhere and getting in each other's way, and I don't like that. But as I unfurled everything here, it felt like a warm hug. Like everything felt good, it felt nice. The body kept opening out, and the parts that were dangling away still stayed solid where they were supposed to be because of the way the hinges work. Like if I don't know, like if I open this out to the side, it's not, you know, it's not flopping back down. It just stays open out to the side so I can remove the main core of the body. You know, once we get it together in its plane mode, the plane is gorgeous. It is solid all way around. I don't think there's anything here to dislike. I really don't. And for that reason, this guy had to take the #1 slot. So there you have it. Once again, we've gone from 10 down to 1, this time for the best. And like, if I had to summarize all this, I would say the worst was Cheetor, because the guy crumbled. I would say the most disappointing for me was Studio Series Hot Rod because it was marketed wrong. I would say the most surprising, pleasantly surprising for me would have to be Grimlock. It surprised me and my wife enough that even she said I owe it to myself to have him in my collection. And I would say that the best would have to be Cyclonus. He's just everything that's right with the franchise and with Voyager class and with Transformers. Some other quick takes on some releases this year. Studio Series, nah, I think it's the best Sharkticon we've gotten. I love the translucent red and the black that's used for Tricranius. My Trax is pretty good, so I didn't include it here. I didn't think Road Rage was the worst. Not for me, not in my experience. My copy isn't quite as good as my Trax, but it's not too bad. I find the Jazz maybe the most concerning. I feel like he might be the most fragile, but I don't think he's the worst. I do think he's the most fragile. Huffer was good. I mean, not stupendous, but good. The arc is okay. I think it might have been unnecessary, but it's all right. Shatterglass Optimus Prime, I love the Earthrise. I love purple, so the Shatterglass is up my alley. I could have included Kingdom RC in the worst list, but she was like #1 last year with Earthrise. It seemed redundant to include her again this year, but she certainly could have been. Who else could I talk about really quickly here? Kingdom Primal is pretty good with his hinge and swivels. I love the Doctor Who, Mozart, and Chatter. Not the best things I got this year, not the worst. Transart Ravage I got. I didn't include him because honestly I'm not sure if his actual release was 2020 or 2021. I got him in 2021, but I don't know his actual release. If he was in 2021, he could have taken a spot on the best list. I love that thing. Deep Cover is okay. Origins Bumblebee is pretty good, but I do have a panel that keeps popping off on the guy. So there's a little QC issue. Nothing major, pops back on. But just the fact that it pops off is a bit of a bummer. So mixed bag year for me, for everybody else. Of course, let me know where your favorites fell. On Wednesday, we will be doing a new question. We're going to get back to our fan votes, fan list, because it's what you guys seem to love. And of course, I love you guys for it. I appreciate you coming by and giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. You can check us out on Patreon. You can see what we offer to you through Teespring. Or of course, you can hit the join button right here on YouTube and become a channel member. Hit the subscribe button, stick around and have some fun with us here on the channel. Don't forget that somehow, some way, each and every single day, you right there, you do make a difference. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights at the stop motion premieres or the old-fashioned way, baby, right here inside the videos.